O'Shaughnessy of the I am Lynn O'Shaughnessy of the College Solution. I'm here today with Veronica Longstreth,
hello,
who is a wonderful college consultant in San Diego. And what I want to ask Veronica today is about opportunities for underserved students who are looking to go to college. So what kind of opportunities are they for them in the college admission process? And this is something Veronica knows a lot about. For her own children, you've done some of this, and for lots of students in the community.
So one thing that's important to know is that the opportunities for underserved students begin in freshman year of high school. So freshman through junior year, you want to look at the summer programs that are out there that are free or at a reduced cost that are targeted at minorities, especially in the area of STEM. For example, the LEAD program out of Wharton at University of Pennsylvania covers about 80%, and it's focused on business and engineering. Another thing that students might not be aware of are what's called diversity fly-ins, and these are where a university will pay for the student to come visit them. And usually they begin the spring of their junior year going through all of senior year. A great place to find those, a list of those, is at a website called getmetocollege.org. And the author of that website, Dr. Rebecca Joseph, always puts a list out every year and continues to update it. Then the final piece of the puzzle is for scholarships targeted specifically at underserved students. And the best place to find those is through a university's multicultural recruiter, either in the admissions office or in the Office of Minority Affairs. And a lot of times those offices will have scholarships that they can give to students. And my own child received a $60,000 one at Ohio State, but there's a lot of wonderful money out there, and a lot of times students overlook that particular area. So
now, could you talk a little bit about your son Daniel and how he got this minority money from Ohio State?
Right. Well, my son Daniel just graduated from Ohio State, and I was particularly a proud parent because he got a full merit ride that covered his room and board, as well as his books and his tuition. And he received a total of 3 scholarships. 2 in particular were associated with being an underserved student. When he was a junior, he took the PSAT, and he got a high enough score and had at least a 3.5 GPA, so he qualified for the National Hispanic Scholar Program. Ohio State at the time gave him about $12,000 a year for that particular scholarship. And then once he was accepted to Ohio State, the Office of Multicultural Affairs, which I referred to earlier, invited him to compete in for a scholarship called the Morel, which was targeted at African American and Latino and first generation students. He had to write 6 simple little essays that were 100 words each, as well as get some recommendations from his community. He got a recommendation from the dean of the LEAD program that he did at Northwestern, and he ended up getting $60,000 for that. So we were very happy at the end of the period when he had $133,000 for college. And my son was not valedictorian, and he didn't have an SAT over 2,000, but he was a boy who worked very hard in school, and that paid off.
Great. Now, do you know if there's a lot of, this was obviously a state school, are there many state schools, do you know, that have a program like that, like Ohio State?
Oh, definitely. Oh, most definitely. Like Georgia Tech has the Provost Scholarship and the Goizeta scholarships. Purdue has similar programs.
Just for first generation or minority students?
Yes, yes. And a really great resource to find those particular is a website called imfirst.org. Mm-hmm. And although it's targeted at first generation students, if you go to their partner colleges, they have listings of colleges in particular looking for not only first generation but underserved students. And they divide their offerings into like pre-high school, when you're in high school, and then once you're in college, and they'll tell you the kinds of scholarships that they have available. Also, many colleges have scholarships for underserved students available but not listed. So that's always a question I have my students ask, because some of the scholarships are what I call pocket scholarships, where they might use them as a recruitment tool to get more students. So in particular, Southern Methodist University has one for Latino girls applying to engineering because they don't have a big population at the school, and they're trying to increase that.
That was something that your daughter was...
Yes, my daughter, I have one going into college. She's going to be going into engineering at Georgia Tech, but when we were doing her search, that was something in particular she asked. And I know at Missouri Science and Tech, Oregon State, and Southern Methodist, they had these scholarships that weren't listed on any website that were also available to her because she was a Latina girl going into engineering, which is another side point. If you're a Latina going into the STEMs, be sure to apply for private scholarships, those given by organizations, because right now there are hardly any Latina girls going into STEM, and my daughter won 8 of them, which surprised me. And although only one is renewable, it still helps a lot for us paying for her first year of college.
Yeah. So were these all these 8, which is pretty amazing because most people don't even get one private scholarship.
I was shocked.
Usually they're a dead end for a lot of people. But now, were they all because she was, obviously she's a very accomplished, gifted girl, but were these specifically for minority students?
They were either for minority students or they were for girls in engineering. And what we did was we went to websites like FastWeb, or there's a congresswoman in Los Angeles, Lucy Roybal, who has a student resource guide that her office updates every year. And what's great is they have scholarships by the month. We went through that and we picked 5 for her to apply to. If she got one of those 5, then that told me that she had something within her resume or what she presented that was attractive. Then we added another 10 to the list, and she got 8 of them. So those are some places. But even if you're an African or Latino male, there's a lot of different scholarships. And a good place is the Hispanic Congressional Caucus has an excellent 300-page resource guide for Latino students that lists all kinds of scholarships, internships, and fellowships from the high school through the college level available.
For Hispanics, or is it just
for Hispanic students? But it really does apply to even African American students.
Or Native Americans.
Native American students. It's just because it's through the Hispanic Congressional Caucus that it's the guide for Latino students. But most of them apply to any of those 3 groups.
Great. And could you talk a little bit about, once you locate these scholarships, what are ways to increase your chances of actually getting them?
Well, one thing I can highly recommend is to really write a great essay and answer the prompt. The one nice thing about applying to these scholarships is you think, oh my gosh, I have to write, 15 different essays, but you'll find that they ask the same question. So my daughter, for her first application, worked on it really well, and she also talked about how she helps the Hispanic community here in San Diego, and that's really important. We don't do it because we're trying to pad our college resume, but because it's the right thing in society to do. But these scholarships like to see that you're giving back to your community, and so as she did this week, she teaches computer programming to underserved girls in San Diego, as well as she mentors Latino students from the local barrio at her high school to help them in adjusting to high school.
That's great.
So those are some things that increase your chances, and also applying. It's pretty shocking. One scholarship she got for $5,000 had only 40 applicants, and they gave out 13 scholarships.
Wow. Well, that's good to know. Veronica, could you talk a little bit more about the summer programs and how do you find those and what kind of programs there are?
So with these summer programs, the way that they work is they realized that they weren't getting a lot of African American, Latino students interested in certain subjects at the college level. So they wanted to create summer programs to get the students interested in the topics early on or to capture their attention. Really they start freshman year, but they peak sophomore and junior year. So the ways that you find them are, one, put Google on the college's website or search on the college's website the term pre-college programs, and also look to see if they have a multicultural affairs office or an office of minority and diversity, because that's one place that they're located. Another place is the summer programs listing on College Confidential's website. There's a summer programs forum, and that's where we found some. A third place is getmetocollege.org. She has a listing of summer programs there. And also the fourth is Ask the Admissions Office. That's another place, because that's where I find a lot. And a lot of the admissions office refer to them as bridge programs, where they're trying to get the student ready now for them. And my children have gone to Caltech and Northwestern, where their summer program paid about 80% of the cost, which led to other opportunities.
Right, because it kind of builds on itself, right?
Most definitely, especially in the case of my daughter. Google sponsored the attendance through LEAD of the students at Caltech. From there, she used the information she learned, 3 weeks of programming in Python, to participate at a program at our local college here called the Research Scholars. At the same time, Google came to LEAD and asked for recommendations because they were creating a worldwide ambassador program. My daughter was nominated, she applied, and she got it. So she's one of Google's 36 worldwide ambassadors, which led to even more opportunities because they flew her up there. So
yeah, that's impressive when you have that on your resume, right?
And you know what? She's a normal child, and her GPA isn't over 4.0, and she plays 2 sports. Basically, you know, you want to find things that you love to do, and you just do those well.
Right, right. And I guess I should mention that some of these are for first-gen kids. Some of them, you just have to be minority. You can be well off and qualify for some of this.
Right, right. So, like, for example, with diversity fly-ins, Williams College, which is a wonderful university, has the WOW program. And with that, you have to demonstrate financial need. But Carnegie Mellon, which has the Sleeping Bag Weekend Diversity Fly-In, you just have to give them your transcript and tell them what you want to major in, and they'll talk to your counselor. And if it's a student that they're attractive, you know, at getting to come, they'll pay the price of the plane ticket. So in the case of my daughter, it was a $700 plane ticket that saved me a lot of money.
Right, that's cool. And I guess sometimes they're not all going to be. You mentioned the website earlier where the diversity, where you can find some of these, but I guess you should also just contact schools and ask them. And it doesn't just have to be for minorities either. It can be for, sometimes it could just be for students who can't afford it.
Right, I have
help with a ticket.
Right, I have a first-generation student who she asked, and she got lots of help. So Denison University offered her that. Plus, also, there's even schools where they're trying to attract students. So Hiram College, they'll pay for anyone to visit that's accepted in their school. Purdue.
That's in Ohio, by the way.
Right, right. And
it's one of those colleges that change lives.
Exactly. And then like Purdue. You know, Purdue's a large university. This isn't listed any place. But we asked the admissions officer, and he said, oh, since you're a National Hispanic Scholar, if you get accepted and want to come visit, we'll pay for your plane ticket to come visit us. Mm-hmm. And that's with no income or first generation requirement. It all depends on different factors, but the best thing is ask the admissions office. Mm-hmm. That's where I learn a lot.
Yeah. And then can you talk a little bit about the National Hispanic Scholar, what it takes to become that?
Right. So the National Hispanic Scholar is based on the PSAT, which is given every October of a student's junior year. Unlike the National Merit Program, where you need a much higher score, what they do with the National Hispanic is they take the entire pool of Hispanic students, and for those that are the top 5,000 students, they become National Hispanic Scholars. But it's based on your geographic region. So, for example, in the state of California, last year you needed a 186. But if you were in Florida, you needed a 199 all need a 3.5 GPA, and that's weighted, so a lot of students can qualify for that.
Right.
And then your counselor is notified in the spring of your junior year. You fill out some paperwork, and then you will receive the official certificate and recognition from College Board in about September of your senior year. But what's nice about this is if you are one of these students, you'll start seeing letters and emails from colleges giving you scholarships, opportunities for diversity fly-ins, invitations to special receptions, because this 5,000 students represents the top 1% of Hispanics that took the PSAT their junior year, which unfortunately is not a very high number, but still something to be proud of.
Right. And isn't there for African American students or something similar?
The African American program is called the National Achievement Program, and there you need higher test scores, not as high as for National Merit, but higher than you need for National Hispanic, because again, it's based on the entire pool of juniors taking the exam that particular year. Now, the one thing is the scholarships are even better for African American students in the National Achievement Program. So that's something to consider. As another resource for African American students, the historically black colleges, they have a lot of good scholarships to offer, as well as the United Negro College Fund. They've got some guides that you can use for finding private scholarships for African American students.
Cool, great. Listen, thank you very much, Veronica,
You're
for
welcome.
helping me. This has been a great resource for us on this, and I hope that you've helped a lot of people. Once again, this is Veronica Longstreth from San Diego. She's a great college consultant, and I'm Lynn O'Shaughnessy of the College Solution. And thanks for listening.